He had been handsomely rewarded for his service, not merely in terms of salary, but in publicity. There had been magazine covers to pose for and television commercials to shoot. But at the same time, something happened that was terrible for a fine athlete. His essential covenant had always been with the hype instead of with his teammates and the game. Every move, and there were many, to sell him and make him the show, had pulled him that much further away from his teammates and the idea of basketball. Now, one of the 2 or 3 highest paid players in the league, he had a reputation in some quarters of being a loser. Even those sympathetic to him did not really know if he could play team basketball. That was a section from David Halberstam's 1981 book, The Breaks of the Game, widely considered one of, if not the best basketball books ever written. In this quote, he was describing one of the true stars of that era of basketball, Pistol Pete Maravich. But as I read it, a more modern name came to mind: Russell Westbrook. There are obviously some differences between what I just read and the current perception of Westbrook. I'm not sure many people really see him as a loser per se, but the idea of the team selling him as an individual and taking away the focus from his teammates, as well as the questions about whether he could play team basketball, seemed very relevant to his current status. It really wasn't all that long ago that he was an exciting young player, rather than a lightning rod for hotly contested debates on his playstyle, and that the Oklahoma City Thunder seemed to be the future of the NBA. This time 6 years ago, the team was making a run to the 2012 NBA Finals, led by 2 future MVP winners in Westbrook and Kevin Durant, a number that will likely increase to 3, with James Harden being the favorite to win an MVP of his own later this year. They had done what every small market team wanted to accomplish: built talent through the draft and created an exciting team built around young future superstars that would contend for championships for years to come. But a few months later, the team traded away James Harden. A few years after that, Durant left for the Warriors in free agency, and the Thunder were left with just one member of the talented big 3 of future MVPs they once drafted, Russell Westbrook. And with that drop-off in talent, along with his contract only having 1 year remaining on it, they were dangerously close to losing all 3 in just a 5-year span. Desperate to keep their team afloat and keep Westbrook happy in Oklahoma City, the team ignored trade calls and scrambled to try and sign him to an extension, of which they were ultimately successful, bringing back their all-star guard on a 3-year deal that summer. With Durant now gone, it was Russ's show. There were no other proven all-stars on the roster, and the team, desperate to keep him happy, allowed him to unleash the Westbrook revenge tour on the league in the 2016-17 season. The team wasn't great, but Westbrook was. His teammates became bystanders to a man on a mission, and became part of a truly historic season. There was nightly interest in what crazy stat line he had put up in the team's most recent game, how he had dragged the team to another victory, and later in the year, how close he was to becoming only the 2nd player in league history to average a triple-double for the entire season. He was the one that stayed, that didn't get traded or jump ship to a better team. He was the king of Oklahoma City professional sports, and he wore that crown proudly. For that one incredible season, just a few months after the franchise had been turned upside down by the departure of Durant, Russell Westbrook was the talk of the NBA. He averaged a triple-double for the entire season, was named league MVP, and took a team without much other high-end talent to the playoffs in a tough Western Conference. For that one season, it all worked for the Thunder. They pushed as much Westbrook hype as they could, kept their star happy, and created one of the most interesting individual season storylines in recent NBA history. They let Westbrook do whatever he wanted, and it kept him around. If the team had lost him in free agency, they were staring down the barrel of a full rebuild. From 3 future MVPs on their roster to a lottery-bound team in just 6 years. They couldn't let that happen. Those decisions may very well have saved their franchise from mediocrity, but it's also created the troubling situation they now find themselves in. With the disappointment of this past season, one in which they won the same number of games as the year before, despite a considerable amount more star power alongside Westbrook, the team could find themselves in an even worse situation than when Durant left. They traded valuable assets for Paul George in the hopes of re-signing him this offseason, and I don't see a reason why he would want to come back and play with Westbrook when he could go home to LA. And Carmelo Anthony is now a $28 million defensive liability with degrading offensive skills that the team understandably doesn't really want on the roster anymore. Even more concerning than that, there's an increasingly credible opinion and track record that playing with Russell Westbrook is a big part of the problem. Just think about all of the players that have either come to Oklahoma City and played worse, or have left Oklahoma City and played better. The effect that he's had on the floor, as incredible as it is to see without other stars to share the floor with him, seems to have a negative impact on the team's ability to build around him. He has the reputation of a shot chucker that, even when he does pass, is intended more to tally up an assist for him as an individual rather than promote ball movement as a team. At this point, there really isn't a clear solution for the team moving forward. Billy Donovan's ability to rein in Westbrook's game for the good of the team has clearly been compromised as a result of the revenge tour last season. Although the team seems committed to keeping him around moving forward, Donovan has been one of the biggest casualties of this entire situation. He came to the Thunder after leaving the college coaching ranks, where he was on pace to be one of, if not the winningest coach in men's college basketball history, but has shown a clear inability to handle the superstar egos of the professional game. Do you fire the coach and hope a new one can create a more team-based atmosphere, or has the 2016-17 season permanently damaged the franchise's ability to do so with Westbrook on the roster, regardless of their coach? Do you run it back and let Westbrook do it all again if George leaves, or can GM Sam Presti pull off some surprising personnel moves to give the team a chance once again, as he's done in the past? In all honesty, I have no idea where they go from here. The shine on Westbrook has clearly worn off around the league, as him averaging a triple-double for the second consecutive season was really only a blip on the radar compared to the previous year's accomplishment. Is there a true superstar that has a worse reputation across the league right now than Russ? I doubt it. He's seen as everything from a stat hunter to a shot chucker to a turnover machine, all around just not a team player. A lot of fans still love him and his passion for the game, which I completely understand. But if they want to contend in the playoffs, then other superstars are going to be what they need to make it happen, and I don't see any of them wanting to play with Westbrook or for the Thunder. It seems fair to say that in saving their franchise by unleashing their star player on the league, the Oklahoma City Thunder have created a huge Russell Westbrook problem, and I don't know if there's a solution to it.